We are live.
All right, we're getting started. And if you would stand with me if you're able to get it started with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Today is October 23rd. This is our full council meeting. Could you get us started with a roll call, please, Mr. President?
Ms. Cheney?
Here.
Mr. Fisher?
Here.
Mr. Knipp?
Here.
Mr. Marks is absent. Ms. Snyder?
Here.
Mr. Van Horn?
Here.
Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the agenda and our
Excuse Mr. Marks.
Sorry, motion to excuse Mr. Marks. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Without objection, I take that as unanimous. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the agenda for this evening? There's one change to it that I know of. I have a registered speaker, Steve Gilbert is here. He's going to be speaking about a speed bump issue on Elbrook. Any other changes to, I know that we have Haven Van Harn on there right now, which was an error left over from last week. Typo. So we will flip-flop those out.
Steven Snyder, you said his name?
Gilbert.
Steven. I'm sorry.
Killing.
That's
First
so-
one called out.
I'm so sorry.
I always wondered who you were, so it's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Conversation's still long lost relatives.
All right, if there's no changes, other changes to the agenda, is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
Motion to accept the agenda as amended. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. So yes, we have a registered speaker. Mr. Gilbert, would you like to stand forward? Please state your name and address is how we typically do this.
My name is Steve Gilbert. I live at 6305 Elbrook Avenue. I've lived in Gulf Manor for almost 20 years, almost 19 and a half. I moved here in 2004. So yeah, and I used to be on council briefly. Unfortunately, I had to take a respite from that. So, but the reason I'm addressing you all today, first I want to just say a big thank you for repaving Elbrook. I mean, I've lived there, like I said, 19 and a half years. It's wonderful now. There's only one issue, and that's why I'm addressing council and everybody tonight. And that is, we're requesting that 4 speed bumps be put in on Elbrook. And I've indicated those. I apologize for the copy. My really nice copy didn't print correctly at the library. So this is a hand copy, and they made copies of this copy. So where you see the red arrows is where I'm requesting the speed bumps be placed. One between Langdon Farm and Chuck Harmon, and then 3 between Chuck Harmon and Bremont. And the reason for that is basically to me, living there for almost 20 years, there's been quite an increase in traffic driving up Elbrook, and not just more traffic, but faster traffic. I've seen cars doing 40 to 50 miles an hour. It's not uncommon to see a car going 40. The speed limit is 25. And they're going 40. Some cars I've seen go 50. I've seen cars go much faster. And there was a car that ran into the embankment at Langdon Farm that was being chased by the police. So there are cars, it's not safe. I'm worried about kids. I'm worried about pedestrians, bicyclists. And so I'm just requesting these speed bumps. And I went through and I tried to document where all the other speed bumps were. And so if you look at Stover, in that same 2-block stretch, they only have a stop sign at Fremont and a stop sign at Fremont and a stop sign at Chuck Harmon. And that street goes all the way through. So essentially it's the same 2 blocks, and they have 3 speed bumps on that street, and that street is not used nearly as much as Elbrook is. If we include those 4 speed bumps, and then there's one near the synagogue entrance on Elbrook, and then there's another one right before you go into Amberley Village. So anyway, that's kind of my request. prior to the resurfacing, we actually only had one speed bump, and I didn't designate it, but it's from the bottom, it's the second one. It's actually kind of in the middle. I would say the second from the top. There's only one speed bump there, and I never could figure out why there wasn't a second speed bump as fast as the cars go through there. So at the very minimum, I'm requesting 2 speed bumps, and now is the prime time to get them installed because the streets have just been repaved. They're not in there. There's nothing there right now. Luckily, the cars don't seem to be going as fast, and maybe that's because they're like, wow, it's a brand new street. It's smooth. I don't know why, but I anticipate that will increase. The speeds will increase and the safety will diminish. And I kind of want to slow the cars down, make it safer.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. So I've already spoke to the administration about your request, so we at least have what we did this evening is got a note off to our engineer to let them know to, don't put in the speed bumps where they're planning on putting them in right now until we take a look at it.
Okay.
For everyone else, for context, Mr. Gilbert reached out to me over the weekend, and I asked to speak to him directly about what the concern was. If you look at the map where Stover is, which he mentioned, putting the proposed speed bumps are parallel to where they already exist on a street right next to it. So it makes logical sense from that perspective. Initially, when I was talking to Steve, I was like, but there's a stop sign there. And then I went back before we met up again and looked, and actually the stop sign at the corner of Piper and Elbrook is a one-way stop, not a 3-way stop. That could potentially be another way of slowing down traffic there. But the request for the speed bumps looks very logical in terms of how they're placed throughout the village. My understanding from the administration is ultimately our chief of police makes calls on where the specific placements are. I was not aware of that.
Okay.
But what they like to do is to go out and look at where the proposed placements are. So we would like to have the addresses of
Okay.
those specific red lines,
Yeah,
so we
and
can pass
I
that
didn't
along.
look for specific addresses because I figured that the engineers or somebody would figure out that it needs
Yeah.
to, you obviously don't want the speed bump on somebody's driveway.
Right.
So it needs to be between a curb and a curb.
Yeah.
And then also the placement, like, I noticed on Stover that there's a couple curves in the road. And it seems like they put 2 of them before you go into the curve
Yeah.
so that you slow down before you go into the curve. And then there's just 1 on the straightaway.
All right. So I think the purpose of the request for addresses was just to get a general idea. We have an engineer that wouldn't,
Okay, I can
obviously
come up
put
with
it
rough
right there.
addresses.
Yeah, if you could pass those directly on to me,
Sure.
and I'll talk to the engineer about it this week. I don't think it's an issue. I just hope they don't show up to put in speed humps at 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Well, they have to finish doing the tar along the edges of the curb, so it won't be at least till Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's a
That's a good sign.
Not that one through, did you?
So I really appreciate you bringing all the Elbrook residents
Yeah,
out
I've got a
to
bunch of
support you.
people from Elbrook, and
That's-
some people that are not from Elbrook. I know there's a few people, Ridge Acres, and as I was doing this, I was surprised at the places where I didn't see speed bumps. So I thought that was interesting, so you might just use this as a reference for, if the police notice any places where people are speeding, you can see here where they might need a speed bump.
I appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and I think you got council's agreement on the logic, and now it's just a matter of figuring out what is going to get done. So, thank you.
Thank you guys,
Thank you.
appreciate it, appreciate your time.
Very much.
We have minutes to be approved from the October 9th meeting. Anybody take a look at those and have any amendments that need to be made before I ask for a motion to approve? Is there a motion to approve the minutes from October 9th?
Motion to approve the October 9th minutes.
Is there a second?
Mayor,
One moment.
I was informed there are some other residents who would like to speak about the Elbrook issue.
All right, I apologize. I was not aware that there were other folks that would like to speak. Without objection, I'll go ahead, unless there's an objection is what I mean. I'll go ahead since we do have the blessing of so many people here. Just state your name and address.
My name is Diane Gaither Thompson. I live at 6115A, Ridge Acres Drive. I've been there for 35 years and I've seen this street change drastically. sometimes not so much for the better. My concern at this point is the safety on the street. To share with your concerns, we have no speed bumps on Ridge Acres, but we have lots of small kids now. And that is a serious safety concern. And so my question is, are we going to get speed bumps on Ridge Acres? And if so, what time frame might we expect them in?
I will ask the administration. What I am clear on is that we have plans for repaving Ridge Acres, and that we wouldn't be putting in speed bumps before we do that, because we'd just be ripping them up.
Right.
But I'll turn over to the administration in terms of timeline on that.
So we have received sort of funding, which is, if you remember, the sort of transportation tax that was added a couple years ago. We qualified for round 3 sort of funding for Ridge Acres. We also have applied for municipal road funding for doing Yosemite at the same time. Both of those projects will include speed humps. I can't tell you where exactly because the engineering hasn't been done yet. It'll happen sometime late 2024, 2025. That's when the funding comes in.
So in the interim, how best could we enhance our safety on the street? Because there are cars that, we are a dead end, and there are cars that come down the street going 35, 40 miles an hour, motorcycles doing wheelies, and kids playing in the street. So it's a paramount concern for those of us who live there. Even though I don't have little kids, we have these little kids out in the street, and at dusk, you can't see those kids, and the cars are still speeding along.
I know that we, in the past, as an interim measure, and again, I would defer to the administration on this, I know in the past we've used temporary.
We do, but they have to be removed in the wintertime, which creates an additional expense for the village. Budget is very tight. The funding of the road comes from our road levy and also grants that we get from the state and from the county. And doing additional work is dependent upon us using those resources to fund road projects. It's, street in front of my house was deteriorated for almost 20 years and it just got done this year. So fortunately, Ridge Acres is not in that kind of shape. There are some things that we've done to make it easier to drive, and we'll continue to watch it, but the road project funding is not available to us until 2024, 2025.
Okay, thank you.
I would also point out that kind of a protocol for if you'd like to have a police car that's available to come and sit.
Would be nice.
So what is often requested is time of day, like note the time of day when you're seeing some speeding going on, because then that helps them know what they should be aiming for as far as when to come and kind of sit to calm stuff down.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, what's the timing roughly on the funding and repaving of Ridge Acres?
I stated end of 2024, 2025.
Okay, I'm wondering if we could consider trying to put the temporary ones there at the end of the winter, as a gap between that paving, at least for the summer, because that's usually when I think most of the kids are probably playing a lot.
Just resell those.
Just kind of put that.
Not sure.
The problem is the cost of the bolts was the issue. We still have them, the bolts are just really expensive.
Yeah, but if it's one-time use, hopefully it's a stopgap until
Right.
it's paving anyway.
Right.
We won't have to replace the bolts if we have enough to do it. I'm just throwing it out
Right.
there as a measure.
It sounds like there's a finance question on it, and so does anybody know off the top of their head how much precisely would the bolts cost to put it in the spring?
It was $2,000.
Yeah, it was really expensive, and then there was issues where we were placing them, and the residents weren't happy with the placement, we had to take them up and move them, and then that was, more bolts had to be purchased,
Yeah,
it
they can
became
only
very
use ones.
costly, yeah.
Right. So we'd need to make sure we know precisely where the residents want it before we put it in. And that would have to be a spot that our engineer would be like, you'd have to have the blessing of the engineer, right? So,
And the dollars would have to be
and the
appropriated.
dollars would need to be present for that. So it's a question for finance about, there were some folks that are here. We had a finance meeting right before this one, all right? And if you were there, you heard what some of the concerns are about our current budget. So it seems like we should turn it over to finance in terms of figuring out, is $2,000 possible? And then B, if we are going to move forward with it, being real clear, get the Captain Reed or Chief Campbell to take a look at the street to see where are some reasonable places to be putting that, and make sure that we get feedback from the residents about whether those are the spots that, if there's multiple spots, which ones they would prefer it to be at, and go from there. Our next finance meeting is, and you could probably, if it's a question for the do you think it's more appropriate for the fiscal officer or for the finance committee?
So I would like to hear the police chief's opinion,
Right.
but we won't be putting them in this year because we're going in the
We're-
winter.
Yeah, we're clear on that. We're talking about planning for the spring, so that's clear. In terms, I'm wondering just the timeline on when we can get back to you. I'm thinking what it probably looks like is next finance committee meeting, someone could bring it up and talk through that piece so that, clearly well before spring, we have a strategy for what we're gonna do.
Well, I think going into winter, there would probably be a difference in perspective. But coming into spring, when the kids are out of school,
Yeah.
then in the summer, when the kids are playing in the street.
Right.
And, I know that budgetary constraints can be an obstacle to getting things done. But then somebody's life is just as important as whether we spend $2,000 or no $1,000 to kind of keep things safe.
Right.
So I look forward to hearing from your finance committee.
Very good.
If I may, ma'am, what was your name again?
Diane Gator Thompson,
Can you spell that for me, your last name?
GAITHER-THOMPSON,
And your address?
6115A, Ridge Acres Drive.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Captain Reed, it sounded like we may have some boats around, some?
We do.
Okay.
We use them all over here, and we got away from the temporary because of that reason.
And that's
That would be-
For all that he does, I believe. So he's a guy that works for UPS, all right, still works for UPS, and he started this nonprofit on the side to help folks that are veterans who are recovering from some kind of physical illness to have a ramp put on their property so they can get access to their property and have more mobility that way. So he's been doing this around the country with the Bengals, right? So if the Bengals are traveling to to an away game, they look and see if there's a family in need there, and if they have the funding, then they help do that. So I wanted to get a shout out to him. I've misplaced my notes with his name, so I was going to ask
Greg Snyder.
Craig Snyder. That's it. I knew it was something that I should be able to remember. Yes, there we go. Another connection there. Great organization, and he gets the Bengals to come out and help with doing the construction, everything. And as I said, does this all over the country with them. And in collaboration with UPS, they are able to, at all the different UPS stations around the country, store some of these ramps to make it easier to get it to folks. So very grateful that one of our residents was taken care of with this program. Also participated in the community solidarity gathering that happened at is it Agath, Israel? Agath, Israel synagogue on the 10th of October, which is following the the terrorist attacks that occurred in Israel, and all the kind of fallout of that. The comparison has been made to Israel's being like Israel's 9/11 with what is going on there. And of course, the fighting is not new to that area, but the escalation of it here recently has many in our community have family that are over there, loved ones that they're concerned about. So certainly wanted to express our solidarity with the community, with all Israel, with the whole area. My previous mayor's report talked about how innocent civilians are always the ones that take the brunt whenever warfare is going on. And I would think regardless of what your political persuasion is, that we're all against terrorism and we're all support victims of this kind of violence. So participated in that. There was a number of other residents I was happy to see that also came out to that event. Also, I was informed that the Mount Notre Dame High School newsletter highlighted Haven Van Harn for her work, which we recognized last week. She raised some money selling, she's a high school student, a freshman, is that correct? Freshman at Mount Notre Dame, Councilman Van Harn's daughter, who this is the second year or third year that she has, I'm trying to remember when I first recognized her for her efforts.
I think it's her, this might have been the fourth year, she's had 3 cookie sales.
Okay.
One missed because of COVID.
All right. So there's a lot of support for us completing the walking path in the park across the street here as one of our recreational projects that we're working on. She's been raising money and most recently put $300 towards the completion of that project. So we honored her last year with proclamation. Is that last year? We lose so much time with COVID.
It's 2 or 3 years ago.
It's 2, okay. I recognized her 2 or 3 years ago for her efforts with that. And
Yeah, the first cookie sale went to the fire department. The
okay.
second one went to,
Bathroom.
oh, the first one was that's right, the first one was the bathroom in the park. The second one was for the fire department to get new sheets and other things, and this one's for the walking path.
Right.
And there's actually been requests to reopen the cookie sale for the path, so that may happen.
So great efforts, great example by Haven Van Harn, and she was recognized in the school newsletter with a picture of her and myself. So I'm famous now officially. Notre Dame High School newsletter. Let's see. I have a community engagement chairperson appointment to make. Charlotte Brewer has received the recommendation from our current chair, Bryant Bussey, who will be stepping down given that he's in the process of a move right now. And he made his recommendation that as far as the folks that have been involved with community engagement, which has under his leadership has significantly increased. He's been doing a really great job with that. When he told me that he was planning on stepping down, I said, will you please find me a really good replacement? And he worked on it and came back with Ms. Charlotte Brewer. So very happy to say that she accepted that placement and will be taking over as chair of community engagement. Thank you.
Just let her know that.
Also, wanted to ask officially one last time. I did hear back from Ms. Snyder about nominations for Recreation Commission. All right, so happy to say that we have 7 confirmed and 2 that we're still trying to get confirmation on, and then 1 would be an appointment from council. All right, so anybody else have recommendations? Last week and last couple council meetings I've been asking for if anybody had recommendations for nominations for the Recreation Commission. And the only person I've heard back from is
Phyllis should be on the recreation.
Are we volunteering her?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and read off the nominations that I have. All right. Miss Melody Mail, Miss Elaine Moskowitz, Miss Phyllis Thompson, Miss Charlotte Brewer, Dixie Beer, Julietta Ladipo. I hope I didn't mispronounce that too poorly, and Alan LaFolle. And I'm pronouncing that in the French way without pronouncing the T on the end. I hope that I didn't mispronounce it. And then we have, as I said, 2 more that I have one councilman, I have I have two people working on that are discussing it with two additional individuals. And then the way that the commission is set up, we have a liaison from council that's a non-voting member, and then in totality, that's 10 members. All right. So you need 5 to go ahead and start the Recreation Commission. Under the current constitution of it, it meets on the first Monday of the month at 7 p.m. So under the current constitution or under the current bylaws, the next meeting or the earliest meeting would be a first Monday of the month. All right. At that time, there are under the bylaws, there are ways to add amendments to the bylaws, so you could change when the meetings are going to be under that. The meeting times are not set by charter or by ordinance; they're by the bylaws that are set by the commission itself. We had a scheduled presentation on all the kind of nitty gritty about the commission, what the responsibilities are of commissioners, what the how it operates in connection with the administration and with council. And we were unable to have that. We didn't have quorum at our most recent community engagement meeting. So still can do that presentation either at the next community engagement meeting, which I believe Mr. Bussey said that he would be attending. All right. Or at another time that works well for all the nominees. The question that I have is, I believe that it's a matter of council vote. So council affirms nominees officially, or whether that needs to be.
Do we have to stagger those?
Yes.
Do what?
Yes, there is.
Spare that, yes,
Yes.
there's a,
So
I mean, are you restarting this from scratch?
no, if
Oh.
allow me to finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's stay here. Thanks. So what I was going to say, that there's a question about whether the question that I have is about as far as voting on the nominations, they have to be approved by council. And I'm unclear on whether that needs to be an official resolution that's written up or whether it can just be an, all in favor vote. I prefer an
Yes.
all in favor vote,
Yes.
right? So the tricky piece is about their staggered positions, all right? So there is give you specific details on that.
When you said all in favor, you just mean by motion, right?
Correct.
By motion, yes.
Okay, so 3 residents would be for a 1-year term, 3 residents would be for a 2-year term, and 3 residents would be for a 3-year term, all right? Then they would be 3-year terms moving forward, but they would all be staggered, so you never run into an event where everyone's term expires at the same time. So the initial terms are going to be staggered, all right? So when we are voting the nominations, we'd be saying who fits into those different terms, all right? And the way I was planning on doing it is just doing it in alphabetical order, all right? Just as a way to do it in a kind of non-partial way. And I don't think that I'd have to arrange them in alphabetical order. Is there a motion to go ahead and accept the nominees that we have?
Couple questions.
Sure.
What is the quorum for that group again?
5.
5, okay, and
Yes.
then it will be a public meeting, so it's going to be recorded?
Correct.
Okay. Yes, I think that's important. I know when I started, I had to remember what a quorum was,
Right.
and we didn't know if it applied to this or not, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now,
Any other questions? Is there a motion to proceed with approving of the nominations? And- All right, is there a second?
Second.
So for clarity, what I'm proposing is I'm going to right now put these in alphabetical order, and then I will say, is there a confirmation on the first 3 at 1 year and the second 3 and read out their names for the 2-year terms.
So your candidates need to fill out this
Yeah.
information.
I will have them complete that. Yes. The administration is reminding me that they like to have a file on everybody, so I'm going to need the nominees, when they are approved, to fill out these, so we have their contact information. All right.
They have
So-
to have full background checks too.
They have
Full
to
ones.
pass correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who's gonna pay for it, council? I mean,
I've been,
Gulf Manor?
Yeah.
We
I've
used to
been-
have to pay for our own, that's why I'm asking.
I know once upon a time, I think it is established somewhere who pays for it, and my recollection is it was the nominees,
okay.
it's the members.
So in our most recent
Mhm.
community engagement meeting where this was discussed, I believe it was either, I don't want to speak for Chief Campbell. Do you remember if you were at the community, Captain Reed, were you at the community engagement meeting, or do you know if it was Chief Campbell? There was a statement made that the PD could have it done and that would be acceptable.
I mean, I can do the backgrounds. The question becomes, how far do you want to go back? If you want to do fingerprinting does come with a fee.
Yeah. It's a 2-year. Under the ordinance, it's a 2-year.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter the years. It matters if you want like a BCI or triple I, like if they live down of state, things like that.
Yeah.
So you could be looking at upwards of $100 per person for the fingerprinting. But I can do their actual background. So I mean, the PD can take that on. It's just who wants to pay that fingerprint cost.
I think historically it has been our police department that did the background check.
Yeah, I mean, we have no issue with that. It's just
I had to go downtown.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Your special case.
No, that's where we had to go. We had to go to either
She's
the
shading, so they were like, make sure it's.
courthouse
Everybody else
or,
is there.
the one on Court Street is where I went.
I just recall when
That's it's been
it's been a while.
3, 4 years, 5 years.
So,
You can do the actual fingerprints on site.
Fingerprints are not electronic.
Oh, they're electronic.
Correct.
all right. So my understanding, I mean, there's different levels of background check.
Yes. So
All
you
right.
can determine
And
what
there
level you
are,
want.
there are ones that require fingerprinting and there are ones that do not.
Correct.
All right. And my understanding at our previous meeting, they were saying that there was no stipulation in our ordinances that said that it had to be the level where you have fingerprinting
We
done.
didn't do a fingerprint.
Okay.
It was.
Then it's not.
It was $60, whatever we did.
Then we
Okay.
can do it. That's
Right.
We
All
can
right.
do it. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no cost.
All right. No cost to the nominees. Okay.
Unless you want to pay me extra.
That's
Take tips, you know.
I appreciate your sacrifice.
But yeah, there's
funny.
All right. So,
I do. Power rings.
so for clarity, if anyone did not hear that, there's no cost for the background check. You are going to be subject to a background check as part of this process. The importance of that is because the Recreation Commission is often in the position of supervising folks that are under the age of 18. All right, with various, whether it be youth leagues that the Recreation Commission puts into place, these kind of things, we got to make sure that we got everybody checked out for that. All right, no cost for this, but you will be subjected to a background check. All right, so I'm gonna go my last name here. So that's Brewer and Beer. All right, so,
Yeah.
yeah, great for recreation, right? So. This is A, B, C, D. All right, so 3, what did we say? It is 3 for 1 year, 3 for 2 year, and 3 for 3 year. I could do it in the reverse order since the folks who've committed first then would be the folks that are getting the longer terms off the get-go. And the folks that we're still tracking down then would be getting the shorter terms. In all fairness to the folks that are just coming on board, we can say it's not a long-term commitment, it's only a year. All right, that might help us get the final 2 spots in. So I'll start off with a requesting a motion to accept the nominees of Charlotte Brewer, Dixie Beer, and Alan LaFolle for 3-year terms on the Recreation Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Two pieces, sorry. Okay, one has to do with, I did a visitation with the Board of Elections, walking through their, the election process with them. They're doing a great job, given a lot of concerns that the national conversation has been around election security and accurateness. So basically, they have these open times when residents can come in and ask whatever questions that they have about how the process works. They can get a tour of how Hamilton County elections works, from the point of the little piece, the machine that you put your piece of paper in, what happens to that machine from that point, how it even gets into that room, all the way into them counting the votes. All right. They had a special one for elected officials that I was unable to attend because of a conflict. So I reached out to them and said, is there another time that I can get in? And they fit me into one of the ones that they do for residents. They are currently looking for young folks who are willing to take on shifts of being down at the Board of Elections on election day. So if you're interested in that, I have information on, I think it pays $180 something, which can be great if you know, if you're a teenager, if you're be a great experience to have. I also have information on acceptable identification, ID stuff. So everyone knows that a photo ID is required to vote moving forward. And then also the dates of you know, early voting has already started, and all the kinds of in and outs of that, and when you had to be registered by, all that kind of stuff. So I have this. I'd like to get this printed on our website so folks are aware of when the polls are opening here. I believe that's already up. Yeah, it's already up on our website. If you have any other questions, or you know, any other user-friendly advice on how to make things more user-friendly for our residents around the election, certainly let me and the administration know. Final piece that I have, I like to try to do a bit of education on this time of year. This month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I started this last year with regard to this one, just going through some of the statistics around that to make people aware of the issue and how prevalent that it is. So October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's been recognized since 1987. The Domestic Violence Awareness Month helps connect and unite individuals and organizations working on domestic violence issues while raising awareness for those issues. The main theme is to let everyone know who's been a part of this that they're not alone. Over 100 million people experience domestic violence each year, regardless of age, economic status, sexual orientation, race, nationality, or religion. Over 85% of reported victims are women. Additional statistics from the National Network to End Domestic Violence include the following. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 59 men are raped in their lifetimes. 1 in 5 women. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men experience severe physical abuse by an intimate partner in their lifetimes. 1 in 6 women and 1 in 19 men experience stalking in their lifetimes. A woman is murdered by a male intimate partner with a gun every 16 hours. Domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking disproportionately impact women and members of underserved communities. There's a number of resources that I'll read for the record right now. I also have, copies of this that I can share. If you or someone you know needs help, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. You can also text 88788. That's 88788. The hotline provides an anonymous connection and help for finding local resources and providers. You can find a list of national resources for victims and survivors of domestic violence on the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence website. I have a link for that. You can find specific resources for different demographics as well, such as Latino, Asian, Pacific Islander, immigrant, indigenous, African American, and LGBTQ individuals, as well as resources for specific types of domestic abuse, such as child abuse, elder abuse, and sexual assault, including legal aid resources. There's a number of shelters in Hamilton County for victims of domestic violence, including secret shelters at locations not disclosed publicly for the safety of residents. The YWCA has a hotline for these local shelters with representatives available 24/7. That number is 513-872-9259. They can make connections to crisis intervention, case management, shelter, basic needs for survivors and their children who are victims of intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and/or human trafficking. The age limit for male children is 18. And those are the resources that I have. I just read them into the record. If anybody needs a physical copy of that, I can make copies available. One final thing, our council member who was unable to be here tonight, Mr. Lou Marks, spoke very eloquently about former resident Jim Whitus and his contributions to the community. He passed away several weeks ago here in Gulf Manor. We got a nice card from his family thanking us for the flowers and the tribute to him. So I wanted to make that aware. I was hoping that could be announced by Mr. Marks, given his close relationship with Jim. But thank you to the administration for making sure that happened, and to all those that paid tribute. And with that, I'll ask for the report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's leaf collection time. So starting on Monday, October 30th, that'll be the first week that the maintenance department starts actively, physically collecting leaves throughout the village. I would remind everyone that Rumpke started picking up leaves on Monday, October 16th, and we'll do that for 8 weeks. So that'll be through Monday, December 4th. So there are actually 2 different ways that people can dispose of their leaves. One is to bag them in paper bags, sit them out at the curb. Rumpke will pick them up on Mondays where they actually go to their recycling. Or your other alternative in that case is to put them out with your regular trash. That is not the greenest way to do it because that does go to the dump at that point. And then the third way is for the village to pick them up. We did in the newsletter publish the schedule for this year. There are 6 streets, I believe, that are the focus each week. They will concentrate their efforts on those weeks. Our recommendation is if you want your leaves picked up on the week that your street's there, you need to have them out at the curb by 7 a.m. Monday morning. They will not come back. However, if they're on streets where there are no leaves, they will look for leaves. But the focus on my recommendation would be is to take a look at the leaf schedule and focus your efforts for the week that your street is being done. Looks like, I'm not sure if Mother Nature is going to cooperate here earlier in the season yet. I know our birch trees have lost most of their leaves at this point, but everything else is holding on tight.
I have a question about the leaves. So I've noticed that different trees drop at different times, right? Their leaves, and so I'm always curious. I have trees that drop very late, and so I'm always anxious at the very end of our leaf pickup whether all the leaves are going to be down or not. Can you repeat when the kind of final last pickup would be in the community for our residents?
So when it snows.
All right.
So that ends up.
That's in. Okay.
Or I believe the last date this year, I want to say it's December 18th.
Okay.
So after December 18th, if you have leaves, they can no longer be put at the curb. You have to bag them and set them out for Rumpke. So the curbs have to be cleaned during the winter time. The other thing that I would mention is don't rake leaves into the curb or into the street. They should be at the berm, which is the grassy area between the street and the sidewalk. That way our gutters do not get clogged with debris. Update on some of the road stuff. Weehe's final acceptance walkthrough actually took place today. There's a punch list of some items that will be taken care of, but that project for the most part is done now. On Elbrook, concrete work has been completed. Final asphalt and sealing took place last week. Apparently there are some punch list items that they have to do. Striping that needs to be done at the crosswalks and any final walkthroughs will be scheduled sometime within the next probably 30 to 60 days. And then, of course, this evening we had the discussion about looking at the speed humps, and we will do that. Update on the municipal building drainage project. One of the things that we are trying to do, maintenance was deferred on this building for many, many years. And as a result, some of the concrete in the back of the building has deteriorated to the point that parts of the building are being damaged when we have severe weather or during the winter time with the freezing and thawing. Our engineers came out and took a look at what type of a system for drainage we need to do in the back. And much to my surprise, that particular project came in at $260,000 to do everything the way we would like to do it. After taking a big deep breath and pulling up our socks, we are working with Mr. Putoff to see what the phased approach to doing that project will be and what things need to be done first to secure the building. Likely, we will not be doing, in fact, after we had the appropriations discussion earlier this evening, one of the things that we're going to have to do is try to find a different way to fund doing this particular project. The good part is the additional drainage that needed to be installed to the property got done during the Weehee Road project. So that was a huge expense that's sitting there waiting to connect to any new drainage that we do, but at least we're moving in the right direction on that. Engineering and design of the Weehee and Elbrook and Lasanville intersections has already begun. I did meet with Mr. Van Harden, I think it was last week, wasn't it? That was the last feedback. One of the things that I would let the Elbrook residents know is we are looking.
The village received $302,572.88 in general fund receipts. That number is significantly more than fiscal year 22. The DEA program received $838, which puts the annual total to $114,238.09. That being said, the village projects receipts of approximately $152,000 for the year for that program. Star Ohio Fund earned $7,010.11 for the month of September, totaling $47,593.07 for 2023. The $818,394.55 of the reserve was placed in a Fifth Third savings account as directed by council, and for the month of September earned $2,343.20. That account should project that if interest rates hold, that account projects to bring in an additional $25,000 in annual interest earnings. Excuse me. The top 5 pays for the month were at Lita, payroll, DPS, that's Deer Park Silverton, the fire, Rack and Blower, and Rumpke. Total village general fund appropriation spent for the month was in the amount of $169,898.14. This figure is $67,355.72 less than September of fiscal year 22. The village had 16 outstanding payments that total $26,632.88. Village administration will continue to monitor appropriation spend and make any adjustments deemed necessary. Need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second. All right. So for any of you who are newly visiting here and were wondering what did any of that mean, we go to great efforts, particularly during our finance committee meeting, to make all this stuff more user-friendly, more understandable. If you have questions, deep questions about how we use the money, finance committee meetings are the places to go to be able to get really good answers on that. Our fiscal officer, I'm very proud of in terms of the how understandable he makes really complex stuff. All right, Mr. Kudnoff, thank you for all the efforts that you put towards that. I say all that because I know what it can feel like listening to a bunch of numbers just read off like that, being like, whatever does that mean, right? So with that said, are there any questions for the fiscal officer?
First of all, I had a great report at the finance meeting. My one question I didn't get to ask was, when does our fire contract come up for renegotiation or discussion?
We're in year 2 of 5.
Okay, well, it'll be
26. All right.
okay. But we'll probably have to start
4,
discussing.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So it's,
25.
okay. Because that's,
He said.
in touch with fire services, and they're dealing with all the same stuff we are. So the costs, we are anticipating that, I think, in the future, it's all. It's 3 years goes fast. Thank you.
Also wanted to state our chair of the finance committee is Mr. Fisher over here, and very happy with how he's chaired the committee, and he's very good at getting to the nitty gritty and helping you understand certain things if you have questions. Any other questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the fiscal officer's report?
Aye.
Without objection, I think that is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Captain Reed, do you have
Yes.
a PD report?
Very brief. Good evening. Not much for you this time around. Sorry, I know you probably were looking for like bells and whistles. All equipment operational, all personnel are operational. We remain fully staffed at this time, which we've been for several months. We're very proud of that. I think that kind of attests to the administration and their conversation earlier in previous committees that we are trying to maintain a fair market rate and at least compete and remain competitive to remain and retain our police staff. So we thank you for that. Unit 218 was decommissioned last month, and after some painstaking emails and communication, is set to be removed from the village by the end of next week. So that sale will finally take place. Other than that, we have our open house this coming Sunday, 4:30 to 6:30. We ask the residents come down, bring your children. We'll get something from the circus. I'm not sure what at this point. Some type of inflatables. We'll have all our public safety officials here. We'll have the fire department here. I've got some surrounding jurisdictions coming down, and then we will do a trunk or treat from 5:30 to 6:30, where we'll hand out some goodies for the children. So definitely bring your best costumes, or not. Just bring yourself. We'll take what we can get. Lastly, the biggest thing is, if you see something, please say something. I get a lot of text messages and emails and phone calls about, hey, did you hear this? Did you see this on Facebook? I don't get on Facebook. I don't really mess with social media. But 825-2280 is the best way to report things to us. I know a lot of neighbors want to have conversations about things, and that's okay. But you got to loop us in so we can help you out. We hear about a lot of things on the tail end, and then it's, what are you doing about it? And our response is, we don't even know about it. So please help us help you. We're here for the residents. So please reach out, share any information. No information is too big, too small. I promise you. Let us be the judge if it's valuable information or not. Please share this information with us.
They go to the same.
Lastly, it's my understanding we made the news this month. We responded to the 6400 block of Graceland for a domestic violence disturbance. Without going into too much detail, even though it's all freedom of information, we've been to this particular residence a handful of times. for pretty much all the same issues. Some type of domestic assault did occur. The victim declined prosecution. Our officers conducted a thorough investigation, and that's pretty much the end of it. I don't know how it made the news or why it made the news. Not to scare anybody, I say this to say that, but we responded to a shooting, a reported shooting, in 2600 block of Los Angeles 2 weeks prior. You hear anything about that? So I don't really know who picks and chooses what they share with you. As always, we are here. Our door is open. I don't have a door, but you can walk me and talk to my corner. You have all of my contact information. I've shared it 100 times. If not, my cards are always at the clerk's office. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Chief Campbell. If anybody has any questions, I would prefer that you come and ask us instead of creating your own interpretation of the event that you may think happened. It's public information. You can't come to me and I say I can't tell you that. There's some details I might not be able to share with you, but there's some things I have to tell you. So if you have a question, by all means, please call us. And again, I can't stress enough, if you see something, please let us know. We're here for you. As always, have a great week, drive safe, and that's all I have.
One question, deployment of AEDs.
Yes.
So that project, I haven't seen anything yet from Lieutenant Forrest on scheduling for the training.
I will follow up with that.
Okay.
So yeah, we want to get that release scheduled, the user portion online immediately. And then the hands-on portion will take place sometime next month. I will follow up tonight and get that scheduled.
And then sorry to take a moment here, but I skipped right over my report. Halloween trick or treat, important night, Tuesday, October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. And I know that there's a resident on Good Golf Manor who's collecting a trick or treat list, and we'll put that on the website and in the app once that's completed that night. So.
Yeah, we thank him for doing that. So if you're not in the know about this and you are going to be participating on October 31st, you said?
Correct.
Is that right? So Halloween here in Golf Manor. If you are serving treats, we'd like to have you on the list so that we can get that out to residents that are going around with their kids, to know which houses are participating. And if you are taking your kids around and you want a list of where you could go, this can be available to you. We'll have that, I believe, available on our website. Is that correct? The list, the map.
It will be.
It will be.
There's a resident who's privately collecting it at this point. So.
Are there any questions for Captain Reed?
One comment, one question. The Bengals team is going to be played on the big screen.
That's correct. Yeah, we'll televise the Bengals game here in the community hall.
Okay.
Do the residents know that? I said.
And
There have been some advertisements put out. I believe we'll put some signage out, hopefully. And I'll reach out to you to do a press release as we get a little bit closer.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That way, hopefully we can draw pretty good attendance.
But may I say something? I also think the fact that I didn't know about it represents communication. I think if we could get more residents to know what's going on, then you get more people involved in what's going on. I think the Bengals idea on the big screen, that's cool. You have food and everything, but how many people really know that other than us?
Yeah.
Or if you don't have a computer and you're not computer savvy, then you would know about that. But kids would love that.
Yeah, we are. It's been a topic that we have been returning to almost every meeting that we have of council. We initiated a community engagement committee specifically to reach out to the community to get input, but then also to reach out to the community to let everyone know what we got going on. So we are working on that. We've had a number of things that have developed over the past year here. One, an app. It doesn't speak to your concern about if someone isn't technical savvy, but we are pushing that out as an option for folks that do have apps on their phone and want to get push notifications about what it is that we're doing. It's one of the avenues. There's a lot of people in favor of trying to get a newsletter regularly out again on a regular basis. If you go and look, we just passed a strategic plan for the moving forward in the village. It's very ambitious. There's lots of stuff in there. Council will need to, in the coming year, start to prioritize what's important in there. But if you read through that, and that's available for the public to look at, there's specific statements about what will be community engagement objectives. All right, so we're trying to address that. We know it's an issue.
Sign up for the app. It's coming.
I sure will.
And my question was, or just the comment I actually was, it's been said many times with this phone number, the importance of calling is that we also track the calls. If it's a direct call to an officer that doesn't go through the non-emergency system, it really does affect how much we know is going on, maybe what we have to change and whatever else. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good point. So when you call, traditionally we've had a cell phone, 615-3000, 615-3001. Those are great resources for us to call you back. They're really not a great resource for you to call us, because if I'm standing in your living room engaged in a conversation and actively listening to you, it's really rude to stop listening to you and your problem at the moment to answer a cell phone. You know, the other thing, the optics as well. If I'm standing around on a cell phone and you're driving by, it may look like I'm not doing my job. You know, well, I saw this officer, he just talking on a cell phone. Yeah, somebody could be getting robbed. You know, but to avoid all of that, we really want you to call the Hamilton County Communications Center, because you get an immediate response from a live person that is going to document and track that you called. We get so many times the residents say they called, and yeah, they did. They called a cell phone and they got a voicemail, and the officer that's 6 calls deep may get that voicemail at the end of their shift, and they may or may not document that you even called. But if you get that real live dispatcher, you're getting real live feedback in real time. You're probably going to get the answer to the question you're looking for anyway, or you're going to get a more urgent response even through the non-emergency number from a police officer than you would if you just leave a voicemail on a cell phone. So we can't stress enough the non-emergency number for not in progress events. If there's just information that you want to share, we want the information, get it to us the right way. If this is an in progress, you need an immediate police response. You obviously want to dial 911. But again, non-urgent, you're not bothering anybody, nobody's going to yell at you. If you call 825-2280, no matter how big or how small, I promise you, we pay dispatch rates every year to the comm center for them to take your call. So you'll never hear anything negative said if you call with the littlest thing. You know, please give us information, but let's get it the right way. Let's not overrun the 911 system with calls that don't need to go through 911. So let's get it to it. Let's get it documented, and we can address the issues.
And I know personally, I've had residents contact me about something that happened, and they talked to the police, and I'll check on it. And Chief Campbell hadn't heard about it or didn't know because it went kind of the wrong route. And he has to spend time, depending on what it was, following up if he needs to. And
So that token, I would also say too, me and the chief don't need to be made aware of everything that the police department does. There are matters that the residents pay police officers, they're grown adults to come in and provide a service to you. They are fully capable, or I wouldn't put them on the streets of Gulf Manor, to take care of 90% of your needs. So you may get me or Chief Campbell, we may tell you we're not aware of that. It's because we have a command staff in place, we have supervision in place, we have officers in place to address your daily needs and operations. So you can never go wrong with calling it the non-emergency line, or if it's truly an administrative nature, you can call 531-3108. The police clerk's on duty Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. She can answer it. She can get the supervisor on duty to answer, or they can get an officer on duty to give you a call back and probably answer your question as well. So there's multi-facets to the police department. Everything doesn't really need to be ran through us, and we don't want it ran through us because, again, you're paying for a service. Let's everybody provide that service to you, not just, you come to us for it. There's things that you do bring to us, and if you bring them to a supervisor and it needs to come to our level, I promise you it will come to me even at 3 in the morning. So, we want to get the information out there. And, we know everybody doesn't understand the inner workings of law enforcement. We want to educate you as much as possible. That's why we say, if you have a question, by all means, you are welcome to call, you're welcome to stop us anytime and just say, this happened, I want to know why. Or, I reported it and it didn't go this way, I need to know why. And we'll explain it. You might not like what we tell you, but we'll explain it.
Are there any more questions for Captain Reed? All right, I will turn it over to our solicitor for the solicitor's report on legislation.
Thank you. The first piece of legislation in the packet was resolution number 2023-28 regarding the 2023 Hamilton County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan. This is a plan established through Hamilton County with in conjunction with FEMA, with regard and with input from virtually every county or every community within the village, within the county, to address multiple hazards. It's thousands of pages long. It is necessary that we adopt that plan. It governs us. It addresses the needs, the hazards of the village, as well as every other possible hazard of every other community within Hamilton County.
And this has received input from first responders throughout Hamilton County. I believe myself and Ms. Snyder.
Mr. Putoff.
And Mr. Putoff also attended and provided input during this process. So the county goes through great pains to get input from all the different communities in putting this together.
The 1,000 pages are not attached to the resolution, but you can find them online. So I need a motion to read by title only.
Motion to read by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-28, a resolution adopting the 2023 Hamilton County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Any further questions? And I'll ask for a roll call.
Motion to.
Sorry, motion to accept by Ms. Cheney,
Motion to accept.
and then a second.
Second.
And all those, yeah.
Now, roll call. Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yeah.
Mr. Knipp.
Yes.
That one. Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Manor.
Yes.
The next is resolution number 2023-29, authorizing the lease purchase of a police department vehicle through Jeff Wyland Finance and U.S. Bank Corp. This is actually a vehicle we already have. We are moving from a lease to a purchase. So now we have equity in the vehicle, and ultimately when the purchase is paid off, we will have a vehicle that we can continue to use with no payments, as well as it could be traded in or sold. Otherwise, as I understand from Chief earlier in finance, basically the cost monthly is a wash, right? Yeah.
So this legislation was discussed at length in the Finance Committee this evening. Are there any questions?
Motion to read by title only.
Thank you. Resolution number 2023-29.
So we need a
Wait a minute,
second.
never mind.
Sorry,
Roger, just second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
But thank you. Resolution number 2023-29, a resolution authorizing a lease purchase of a police department vehicle through Jeff Wiley Nissan and U.S. Bank Corp. Government Leasing and Finance, Inc.
One final opportunity for questions. Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept. Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Knipp, Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Manor.
Yes.
The last resolution is resolution number 2023-30 regarding entering into a contract with Alpha Demolition for the demolition of multiple properties within the North Weehee redevelopment project area. I think Mr. Earth had spoken about this earlier.
Motion to read resolution 2023-30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-30, a resolution accepting a bid and authorizing the village administrator to enter into a contract with Alpha Demolition Inc. for the demolition of multiple properties within the North ED redevelopment project area.
Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept. So, go ahead, actually, she got
Is there a second?
it. Second.
Once again, Mr. Hurth spoke to this during his administration report. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Knipp?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
The next is our only ordinance for this evening. It's ordinance number 2023-13 regarding stipends to village employees, specifically police officers. I think this was discussed, I know in finance, and it might have been discussed a little, I think it was discussed in council. It's to provide stipends for police officers that were serving during COVID.
So this was funding that was received through the federal?
Through ARPA.
Through ARPA. So funding for folks that were serving during COVID. As a way, money has been passed to us to pass along to officers should we choose to use the money that way. If we don't, then it goes back. The idea being we want to thank and support our officers that were working during COVID. I brought up during the finance committee meeting that I thought it sucked that it's not covering our clerk staff. It's not covering all the people in the police department, but it is great for our officers that they're able to get this. And are there any questions concerning it?
Motion to read resolution, ordinance number 2023-13 for the title.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance number 2023-13, an ordinance authorizing the village administrator to pay stipends to village employees as authorized by the Ohio Emergency Management Agency for Responder Retention Incentives Grant, OEMAFRRIG, and declaring an emergency. I need a motion to suspend the rules, calling for 3 readings.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now motion to pass.
Motion to pass.
Second.
All right. So there's a motion and a second. Are there any final questions? If not, roll call, please.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Knipp?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
It came up at the last meeting, issues regarding the defibrillators, devices, and liability with regard to the use of them. I think I did a little research on it. I think the general idea is it's the Good Samaritan law. Thank you. Good Samaritan law in Ohio regarding these devices. As long as there's not willful or wanton misconduct with regard to someone who attempts to use it, then there's no liability, no civil liability if they do it wrong. The statute doesn't, of course, encourage training, but essentially, if it's there and someone needs it, anyone can try to use it even if they don't know what they're doing, basically, and avoid the civil liability. So.
At our previous council meeting, I believe it was, we had a presentation by our chief of the fire department that basically laid out, I hope I'm getting that right, who gave the presentation on, was it you, Captain Reed?
I mean, I can run fire department if you like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
So the point was made how these things are so automated now that, basically if you can, all you need to do is press it where it tells you to press it and it takes care of it. So a human has to be there, but it takes care of itself. So with regard to it being misused, that would be difficult. So, all right,
That's all I
Right.
have. Thank you.
thank you. I need
What do you need?
I need that back. Thank you, sir. All right. There was no executive committee meeting this evening. You guys meet next when? I don't have that on here.
November 13th.
November 13th at 6
6
p.m.
There you go.
Thank you. Planning Commission, let's see, next scheduled Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 6th at 6:30 PM pending any business.
And at this time, there is no pending business, so likely won't be.
So at this time, there is no pending business, so it will likely not meet. You can check into that on our website. For community engagement, I received let me see this. So Bryant Bussey is our former chair of community engagement, sent his report to me. He wanted me to let everybody know that they have completed the Gulf Manor Parks survey, and that the next community engagement meeting, he will present that. All right. I have a copy of it here. I was trying to print it, was not able to, and then was trying to send a copy of it to you, Mr. Pridnoff, and that wasn't working either. So I do have a copy of that if anybody has any questions, but I would direct you to our next community engagement meeting if you'd like to take a look at the results of that survey. This is towards the creation of recommendations to council that have been received by community engagement about the use of our parks. Excuse me.
So point on the date for the next meeting
Yes.
for community engagement. It's scheduled for the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, November 21st at 9:30.
Right.
So I don't know if there's an interest in moving that. It's just the
Right.
Tuesday before the 27th council meeting.
I will defer to the new chair of community engagement. So the statement that's being made is the next scheduled community engagement meeting is Tuesday, November 21st at 9:30 a.m. At the chair's discretion, given that that is the week of Thanksgiving, it could be moved to another time. It doesn't need to be a decision that's made right now, but as soon as possible, and we'll get that up on the website to let everybody know.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And let's see, Ms. Cheney, do you have an education?
Just that PRM principal is working on our one plan for this year. We still have a D score on our report card, but we are now, all the kids are now at pre-COVID, which is really, really good. So, and her one plan's not done yet, but she's really tough. So expect it to be really tough this year. And she meets it, whatever she pays. Hey, she's really good. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Ms. Cheney. Everyone who is a parent of young children right now is aware that there's this discussion about the effects of COVID on the educational milestones of kids right now, that a lot of children are behind the milestones. And so that's what's being alluded to here, is that, trying to address that. It looks like performance is at least back to what it was before COVID. So that's good. Hopefully that continues. And Mr. Fisher, Finance Committee report.
Finance met tonight, we discussed a couple of points, and the main takeaways is next year's budget. In simple terms, this year, we overspent. We tapped into our reserve by $118,000. And for next year's budget, it looks like we have to tap into another $100K. If we continue this, we're gonna just clear out our reserve, and the reserve is there to protect us in case of a rainy day or something goes down and we have money back up. Therefore, the Finance Committee recommended administration look into different ways and come back with different plans of how we could cut next year's budget to allow not to tap into the reserve. And we set a special finance meeting for November 13th at 5 p.m. to discuss different plans of where we can tap into and cut or get more revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Any questions? Mr. Fisher, Chair of Finance. All right, if not, and there's no other business, I'll give the announcement of our coming up council meetings. So as Mr. Fisher stated, Monday, November 13th at 5 p.m., there'll be a special Finance Committee meeting concerning the ideas that the administration was able to come up with on how to adjust the budget to stay balanced. The regular executive committee meeting then will follow at 6 p.m. and then council at 7 p.m. And then the next meeting after that, November 27th, will be Finance Committee at 6 PM, the regular Finance Committee meeting at 6 PM, and full council at 7 PM. And community engagement will be the 13th, community engagement will be announced. They'll be up on the website as soon as we know whether it's going to be on the 21st or whether it'll be at another time. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your service to the community. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
I just want to say, most of these meetings are pretty boring, but you guys make it exciting. It's so nice to have residents here because so much of what we do feels like we're doing it in a vacuum and making the best decisions. But your presence and just voices and make a big difference for us sitting here. That's why I just want to say thank you for being here today. Thank you.
And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you again, everyone.
Claire.